Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome into Epic View Studios preseason basketball show. Larry Workman, Rick Dougal, and head coach John Dennett from the Cony girls. We're going right to the top. We're starting the day out with the defending champ
That's where it
from
should be.
Northern Maine, right? And then we're gonna have like Chesley on after, and we'll ask him, how he felt, after he got his, what handed to him in the tournament last year. But I digress. Coach, great to have you today. And we want to start things out. First of all, today's show brought to you by Hammond Lumber Company with 22 locations across Maine and New Hampshire and online at hammondlumber.com. Well, this is about this season, Coach, but we can't move on without talking to you about last season. What a heck of a run. Kind of a Cinderella story, if you will. But I know you guys went in third, but 11-7 on the season. I was kind of looking through your games last night, preparing for this, and you had some ups and downs during the season. You had some winning streaks, and you had some losing streaks. And what was the turning point in the season last year where you really felt like you had a shot to go all the way?
Geez, I think it was a couple of our crossover games. We had Mount Ararat where we lost by one. We had a chance at the end of the game where we missed an easy wide open layup, would have won it for us, and then playing Oxford Hills, going down there, playing against Pelletier and his kids. They're always a good, strong program. We lost by 3. It was a tough year. We had a tough schedule, and we only played 6 girls, and trying to get everybody to buy into the team aspect of it. It was just a tough year. It was it was ups and downs, and we talk about it start just like this year. We say, hey, it's not a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon. And we're gonna have our ups and downs. Let's get better throughout the season, and by the time the tournament rolls around, let's make sure we're there and ready to go.
So you get to the tournament. You win the first round game. Then you face a Hamden team, the higher seed. You had beaten them twice during the regular season, so you had to feel pretty confident about that one. Although it is tough to beat a good team 3 times.
Oh, yes.
But then you face Lawrence, 1 loss on the season. What was the? I know you did a box and 1, and that was kind of a little bit of a change in your defense. Do you think that was what gave you the opportunity to win that game, or just kind of take us through that a little bit?
Yeah, I had a good group of seniors, girls that have been playing basketball together a long time, and Lawrence is the epitome of greatness in our league. And we talk about, hey, if we want to be good, we gotta beat the Lawrences of the world. Well coached, tons of talent, great depth, which we don't have. So, the Hamden situation, I felt super confident against Hamden. I thought we were a tough matchup against them. We ran a lot of 1-3-1, and they struggled against it. And I felt like we were 10 points better than Hamden last year, just in my opinion. And going into the Lawrence game, it was a quick, my daughter, who's my assistant coach, who's kind of keeps me well balanced, and she's a lot smarter than I am. And she said, maybe we should go box and 1. And during the regular season, we don't try to mix it up too much and get too crazy. We felt all year. I kept telling the girls, "Hey, listen, we got to be better than 2 teams. If we're in the top 8, we'll go to the tournament, and then whatever happens, happens." And so my daughter was like, well, maybe we should try boxing 1 on Maddie, and I'm worried about Lawrence's size. We've struggled against Lawrence. My first year, they just literally pounded us every time we played them. This year, I felt like maybe we had a shot. We just caught them at the right time. Our girls were strong, ready to go. It was a lot of luck on our side. And it worked out.
That was a great run.
Yeah.
Getting back to the Cony Lawrence game, we saw you playing in Folsom Gym, and you changed things up a little bit. You did go to a zone, and really Lawrence really took it to you and exposed your weakness. Because obviously in a zone there's spots where you need to, your offense, you can get the ball in wide open spots, and I thought Lawrence did a really good job during the regular season. And how did the kids buy into that philosophy? Because obviously, teaching a zone is totally different than man-to-man. And, you're guarding an area, but you have responsibilities. But I thought then you went to the box and 1. I thought the kids did a lot better job understanding their responsibilities.
Yeah, well, see, with us, and you're correct. We are not very good in the zone defense. We don't practice it a lot. We want to go man. We want to pressure teams. Lawrence is a tough team to pressure. They got good ball handlers, and the size is. And we thought maybe, hey, play some zone against them. Maybe help us rebounding. We can double underneath, and it's playing zone defense is all about rotations. If you don't have good rotations, then you're going to get beat in a lot of areas. Lawrence is really good against the zone, and so when we went to the box and won, I felt like, geez, there's only 4 girls in there in the zone. Maybe they can get their rotations down. And so, we won that game on, geez, I think it was a Wednesday. We were playing Lawrence on Friday, and we talked about it Wednesday night after the game, in the bleachers. Like, geez, let's do a box and one and got to really work on rotations. And Thursday and Friday, Thursday we worked hard on rotations, and Friday it was walkthrough. Just, this is what you got to do. You got to make sure that you get to your spot, and big girls, don't let the big girls catch the ball standing still, and just happened to be that night.
Well, it was a great run. Let's move on to this year.
Okay, Coach. Obviously you have tryouts, a few days of tryouts. Any surprises so far in this first week that some new players or some of the returning players?
My returning players are, we have Morgan Fickthorne and Abby Morrill and Cassie LaCroix coming back. I actually had a girl, Abby Clark. She's been playing in the program forever. She's, one of our taller girls. She had a wrist injury her sophomore year, didn't play all season, came back last year, played through the preseason, was starting to look good, and then just kind of fell out of love with basketball and decided she wanted to play anymore. So she stepped back, but she's come back this year. It's her senior year. She feels like if she doesn't play, she might regret it. She's a great kid. She's got some talent. She's got some size. She knows the game, good basketball IQ. And then we got a really strong freshman class. I got, it's not a big freshman class, but I got 4 strong freshman players, and they're all going to have to make some type of impact on this team this year if we're going to be successful.
So, Coach, how do you establish the expectations for the season? Is it something that you talked about your daughter, your assistant coach? Obviously, she seems to be a big part of your coaching philosophy. Is it you and her establishing that? Do you talk to the girls to kind of get some feedback from them, or how do you go about getting ready for the season and saying this is what our expectations are going into it?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it all stems from Paul Vachon, to be honest with you. I'm a Paul Vachon guy. I have been my whole life. He was, first time I started coaching, he was the athletic director at the middle school I coached at, and he was still at Cony, coaching the Cony girls. And anytime I wanted the job and finally got the job, it was always about, the pressure, the tempo, the team aspect of it, creating for other players. And so at the parent meeting, we just lay it out on the line. This is how it's going to be, and this is the system we play. You're going to have to work hard and get better, or, just progressions, and basically it.
Yeah.
It all stems from the Vachon days. We want to try to keep something, it was a great run for him, and we wanted to kind of keep that going and hoping to build, get the younger kids excited. Usually winning helps with that.
Yeah.
So, so we're trying to just get back to the tradition that we used to have at Cony.
Yeah, great tradition, that's for sure. Teams to beat in the conference, who do you see as the top, 3 or 4 teams in the conference, and talk about a little bit of each team too?
Yeah, Lawrence is head and shoulders above the best team. They got everything you could ask for: size, guard play, great on defense, great coaching, got a good system. So right now it's Lawrence and everybody else. I like Camden Hills. I think they're really good. They're athletic. And we'll be in the mix. Hamden's always good. Brewer's got the Flag girls, sisters coming back, and Ford girl, and they'll be good. And I think the conference is a little stronger this year. I actually feel like we're going to be a little better than last year in a few areas of the game. Doesn't mean it's going to translate into wins, but we're hoping that. So it's my 3rd year here, and we're shooting to knock off the big dogs, which is Lawrence.
Well, the great thing is you've done it before, right? So,
Yeah.
So once you've done that, the kids can buy in, right?
Yeah.
That's always one of the things that I always say about programs is, especially the programs that struggle for a while, is that getting the kids to believe they can win again is really when you take that next step, and you've gotten to the mountaintop. You haven't gotten over it yet with that state championship win, but
that's what we started 2 years ago too, and it's great. It's a perfect example there. When I took the program over, that the year prior they were, I think, finished 10 10-8 or something like
Yeah.
that. 10-9, lost to Erskine in the first round, and that was their first winning season since my daughter's year in 2014. So they had a lot of tough years. So that group of girls was, there were some pretty good players, and we kept talking about, hey, listen, you gotta learn how to win. You know what I mean? You're losing games by 4, 3. Those are games that you need to win by 3, 4.
Yeah.
And I think they bought into it.
I coached one year with a couple of years with my brother at. I don't know if you remember when Averill had a team there at Class D.
Yeah.
My brother's the president of Goodwill Hinckley, and he was a coach there at the time, and that was the biggest issue. We had some talented kids, but when they got to the point in the game where they started to make one or two mistakes, and it just snowballed, right?
Yeah.
They were like, okay, I guess we're going to lose again, And,
Yeah.
and once the kids get that in their head, it's hard to get that out.
Yeah,
You really have to
I
have
agree.
some success, and obviously you started to build something here, and I think you got a great future. And actually, it goes right to my next question: is how do you feel about the current direction of the program?
Well, I'm not super stoked about it, but we're working at it. You know what I mean? It's not a lot of kids in the system. I mean, to be honest with you, when we first put the sign-out sheet up, I only had 15 kids sign up for Cony girls basketball this year.
Wow.
We did have 5 other girls show up, so we're at 20 right now. The youth programs, we got to work hard at just getting the kids excited. We try to have a youth night. We get the National Guard involved, and
Oh, that's cool.
and I thought maybe winning last year might gain some excitement in the town and the community, and that's usually how it works. I mean, you look at Lawrence's program. That they got all kids at every level. They're excited. They come to watch the teams play, and when they win gold balls and they're in it, great record every year. That those kids want to be part of that, and that's what we're trying to do in Augusta. So we're working at it. It's not exactly where I'd like it to be, probably 30%.
Yeah.
So we got our work cut out for us, and we're going to continue to work at it and see if we can get some of those young kids going and like basketball again.
Yeah, I think you're right, Coach. The mindset of the kids want to play for winners. And if you get a program that loses year after year, a lot of kids don't want to put the time and effort into it, which is sad. I mean, back in the day, you had kids playing all the time at all the levels. Now there's so much for these kids to do, other avenues that they don't want to put the time into a program they feel it's not worth it. And that's sad because Cony's got a great tradition, just like Lawrence does. And these kids should be out doing something and doing something productive.
Yeah, and I don't know if entitlement's the best word to use, but the kids come into the program and they want to be varsity instantly.
Right.
They don't want to work at it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I have a couple freshmen. I said, geez, someone. Well, I didn't ask them personally myself, but through the grapevine, they were, how come you're not playing this year? Well, I'm not going to be varsity, and
As a freshman.
back when I was younger, we had a freshman team, a JV team, a varsity team. There was 15 kids on every team, and 20 kids got cut. And if you had to work at it, you'd earn it.
Right.
And I think this year, not this year, just I don't know if it's this generation or just the time we're in, but they just expected it to be handed to them.
You know what I think some of it has to do with is the lower levels. They don't do tryouts, right? Everybody makes the team.
Yes.
So if you establish that throughout, right? Well, everybody makes a team every year. You get to high school, it's like, hey, everybody makes a team, right? So I should be on the team. And I think that's part of it.
Yeah, that's a very big part of it. They just, that when I was growing up, and I mean, you guys know, and even with Paul Vachon days, girls wanted to play for Paul Vachon. You had to, players were made in the summertime.
Yeah.
You can go out in your driveway, shoot 200 shots, dribble the basketball, get better, and you had to earn it.
Yeah.
Earn it. It's the way life should be.
Exactly.
How do you your preseason? Obviously, you have a very short preseason. How do you decide your opponents, and what do you feel about the preseason? Do you feel is too many games played too soon, or it's a good balance?
That's tough to say. I'm going to find out this year. The first year we played 5 preseason games. So basically we start the season on a Monday. You practice Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday off for Thanksgiving. Friday you have a practice, and then Friday night we have a big alumni game. It used to be big. It's gotten a lot smaller now. So, and our girls play in that. And then Saturday we play in the Christian Burns Memorial Tournament. And so we play 2 teams. And generally it's always Halldale always comes. And then it used to be Freeport, and now, they didn't come up this year. And then after that, the following weekend, we would go play in the Freeport tournament, which was a great tournament. And, excuse me, but this year, being Thanksgiving so late, our season almost like starts a week early.
Right.
So TJ, AD Mains was trying to put in some teams and extra games and stuff. And actually, the first 2 years we were able to play at the Civic Center on the Monday prior to our opening night. So it was nice to get on the court. Last year we played Brunswick on that night in a scrimmage, so we played 5. This year we only have 3 scrimmages set up. I like it this year because we more preparation. So we just had 5 full days of practice. Gave the girls the weekend off for the bodies to rest up, and then we'll go 2 hours on Monday, 2 hours on Tuesday and Wednesday, Thursday off. Friday we have alumni, and then Saturday we play Halldale, and this year we play Erskine.
Yep.
And then we have one more. We'll play Madomic before the season starts, right at Cony. And
we were talking about that before, and you said it's a marathon, but it's a quick marathon, right? Because it's like December, January, then February really doesn't count because it's only a couple of games in February, right? So it's a lot of games, 2 games a week. You got practice, so it's a grind. We just talked about that a couple of days ago, right? So every practice, before practice, we get together middle of the floor. End of the practice, we get together middle of the floor, just talk about family and things like that. And we're trying to get the older girls to talk to the younger girls about, hey, listen, it's going to be a grueling season. These freshman girls that are coming in, 3 of them played for St. Michael's, which is a private school in Augusta. And they're all Augusta kids, and they're used to winning 70-10 all the time. They barely lost a lot of games. And we were telling them, a couple of days ago, hey, we're going to have games that, we should win. We may lose, and games we, should lose. We're going to win. It's going to be a tough season, and you got to just take it one game at a time and just focus on getting better. So by the time February rolls around, we're a good basketball team. Yeah, I think, like you said earlier, the balance in the league is going to be every night you're going to have to come to play, right? Because you're going to face some good opponents every night.
Yeah, absolutely. We got Oxford Hills again. We got Mount Airy again. They're super strong in the south. Got Freeport added this year. Play Lawrence twice. Play Camden twice.
So how do you fill out your schedule? I know you got the KVAC that you play most teams twice, home and away, but you also have some opponents outside your conference. Who sets that up?
Yeah, it's be Mr. Mains.
Yep.
Yeah, and I don't think he did a very good job at it last year.
No?
No, we had a super hard schedule. And he's on that committee, I guess. So,
Yep.
the scheduling committee, and he told me, geez, your schedule's going to be really brutal this year. And he tries to do his best. He's, focused on the boys program as well. You know what I mean? That's his former program. He still has a lot of interest in it, and he's great. I get a ton of support from him. The league's going through some changes. They don't know if they want to go 5 classes next year or 4 classes, and so that's big. And they just had a vote on it. And
Now, do you have a vote, or does it's all
No.
ADs, right?
Just ADs. He asked me, like my opinion.
Yep.
At the beginning of the year, he gave me a list of some teams and said, who do you want to play, who don't you want to play? We'll see what we can do. I put the list in, and I just play whoever they tell me now.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And so it'll be interesting. Next year is going to be a very interesting time for all the high school basketball. We go to 4 classes. That's going to put us back up into A, so we'll be a small A school. If it goes to 5 classes, we'll be B. We'll be a bigger B school, and we'll be playing at the Bangor Auditorium. So there's changes coming to Class A basketball.
Oh, wow. You guys wouldn't be part of the Augustus.
No, unfortunately, that's Mr. Maines told me that if we go to a 5-class system, we're going to be B. Looks like with our numbers, we'll be B, and we'll be a bigger B school, and we'll be playing at the Bangor Auditorium, which is unfortunate.
Yes.
20 years ago, I'd have said great. But I love the Augusta Civic Center.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I think it's a great
Well, it's a
venue.
home game.
Yeah, it is a home game. You're right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that was back back in the day where they had Class A games on, Saturday morning. Who didn't wake up and, watch from 8 o'clock in the morning all the way to 11 o'clock at night? It was 8 games. And
It was like Christmas during that time of year for
You're
me.
right.
You know what I mean? It was, Cony girls were always good, and the boys are, pretty good year to year. So, yeah, tournaments are great. It was an awesome experience in Bangor, but I love the Augusta scene.
Yeah. I'm just going to circle back. Last question. What was your favorite moment from the championship run last year?
Geez, obviously it's beating Lawrence. Lawrence is the standard of greatness in girls basketball in Class A North, and we talk about it all the time. If we want to, you want to cut down nets, you got to beat Lawrence. I just watching the girls cut down the net, the excitement for the 3 girls that graduated last year that played all the time, and always got their butts handed to them by Lawrence. So get a little revenge on that. But it's a memory for a lifetime for them. And Lawrence won that gold ball the year before, and they. I think they beat us by 35 almost every game that year.
Yeah.
Last year we played them better, at the Civic Center, and it was just a great run. I was super proud of the girls. It was my first time. I had been part of an Eastern Maine championship before. Well, this was in Northern Maine this year, but last year, and it was great. But to be the head coach and just see those girls and the excitement, and the just trying to get over that hump, and I think that's what hurt us going to the state game. I feel like that was our state championship.
Yeah.
Beat Lawrence.
Yeah.
Kind of was like, that's all we needed.
Yeah. I can tell you that the two guys at this table were hoping you'd win because we're not big fans of that program.
Yeah, no, I get you. We could talk about that off camera all day long. I get it. And I'll be honest with you, I had a bad feeling before we even got on the bus. We had controversy going on, some issues on the way down. We got there, and we were like deer in headlights.
Oh, yeah.
And then when it goes back to rotations, they were big, physical. We just kind of lost our way, and they put it right to us. Yeah. I wanted to, I told my wife actually at the end of the night that, we got back to the house, and I haven't watched that game.
Really?
No, I watched every game that we played in the last 2 years, but I won't watch that game. I told my wife, I said, geez, I should call Chesley up, tell him I'm sorry. Bad representation from the door. You probably could have done, been a better matchup for, would have been a better matchup for them. So, hey, it was a great season, and Lawrence had a great season, and they're not going anywhere.
Yeah. We appreciate you coming in, Coach, and we appreciate giving us a few minutes, and we wish you the best of luck this year.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. Really,
right.
really do. Thank
Coach
you.
John Dennett, the Cony Lady Rams. We'll be back after this. Brought to you by Hammond Lumber Company with 22 locations across Maine and New Hampshire and online at hammondlumber.com. And welcome back to the Epic View Studios preseason basketball show. Yeah, no, there isn't any of that. We're joined by head coach of the Lawrence girls, Greg Chesley, and Coach, we're not going to focus on last year. And have you watched the game yet? That's what I want to know, because the last time I saw you said you would not watch the game.
I don't think a copy of it still exists anywhere. It's gone. It's gone.
It's gone. That's good.
Not focusing on last year is good, but I mean, we were 19-2, so
it was a good.
Last
good
year was still pretty good.
Yeah. Well, the problem was you won the state championship the year before, so now everything got measured to that, right? But
when you get to a level where losing in the regional final is kind of a gut check time, and then I think your program's doing okay.
No, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I mean, obviously you won the year before. You got to the regional final. Had a tough fourth quarter. Obviously, it's a good teaching lesson too for the returning players and the coaching staff that anything can happen any given day, and you got to really come out and play well every single game, or you could get beat.
Yeah, and then I think what we've really focused on this year is that we don't want to be we're getting ready to play some exhibition games today, and we don't really want to be our best today. We want to be getting better this year every step of the way. And when we get to that regional final this year, we want to be playing the best basketball we've played all year.
Yep.
Okay, preseason, obviously you only had one senior, graduating from last year's squad, so you got a full roster coming back, kind of like 2 years ago. What are some of the things you've seen so far this first week? Good or anyone surprising you?
We played. This group played together all summer. We carried 13 girls last year. So losing Kaylee Elkins took us to 12. We kept those 12 on varsity, and I saw them all summer. So no big surprises. I think they're hungry and they all have a good attitude, and I think we're ready to go.
Nice. So how many returning starters? I think all of them except for except for the Elkins girl, right?
Yep.
You're basically 4 starters back plus.
Four starters back, and today in our exhibition game, that other one will be Ella Minahan, who played big minutes anyway. So, we've got some experience returning.
Yep.
I thought last year, you probably, obviously, 2 years ago, you had a lot of depth. Last year, your bench was, you probably played 7, 8 players for the most part in crunch time. Do you see your team a bigger bench, more kids being able to get more minutes, or do you think it's still going to be those 7 or 8 kids?
I think we're going to be similar to last year, but we're going to find that out today. I mean, we'd love to be able to play bigger numbers. We'll find out today. We're going to rotate kids through today, and then this week, next Friday, we play at Chevrolet. That'll be a good test, and we play Spruce Mountain that day, so that'll be a good test, and we can get some of those younger, less experienced girls some time and see where that falls.
The expectations, how do you talk to your team about that? Do you talk? Obviously, you probably talk to your coaching staff, but do you tell the kids the expectations, or do you kind of just keep that to yourself in the coaching circle?
Well, really, we're trying to give it the Belichick, next game, and then we're narrowing that down to next practice, next drill. The expectation is really we just want to keep getting better all the time. We talked about it last night. We had time for a little team meeting, and we talked about there's some pressure on this group. I mean, there are a lot of external expectations. We talked about, if you watch the U.S. Open tennis, you can see where it says pressure is a privilege as the players walk out. And we talked about that last night, that the pressure we're feeling is really a privilege. Some of these other teams in our conference they don't get to feel that because there's no expectations, there's no pressure. We have that privilege of being that good and having to live up to it. But really, internally, we just want to try to go next play and just keep getting better every time we step on the court.
That's a great way of looking at it. I never really thought about that with pressure. A lot of people shy away from pressure. They don't want to deal with that. But that's it's so true that it is a privilege, and there's a reason that there's pressure on you because you're good.
Yep.
So, teams to beat in the conference. I mean, talking to Coach Dennett before, he said it's Lawrence and everybody else. I felt like it was that last year, but it seems like a lot of the younger teams that we saw last year, obviously coming back with more experience, and I think it's going to be top to bottom, if you will, or maybe middle is going to be a lot stronger, and you're going to have a lot more competition night in, night out.
I do think any given night, anyone could beat anyone. That's what high school sports, and even pro sports, it happens. But I think I think Camden Hills, Cony, and Hamden are going to be right up there. I think all three of them are going to do well. Hamden, lost 2 seniors who did a lot for them, but they had some freshmen who really played well. So I'm kind of excited to see them early, get my eyes on them and see how those now sophomores play. Cony is returning. The Morrill girl is as good as anybody, or better than most. And Camden Hills is an athletic squad. They're going to get up and down and really put some pressure on people.
I think Brewer is going to be pretty good too. They got some.
They got the flag girl. That's They got 2 flag girls now.
Right.
Very, very athletic group that, and the coach does a nice job up there.
Yeah, she does. Yep.
Yeah, I think they are going to be much improved.
How do you feel about the current direction of your program? Obviously, you've had some success, and from top to bottom, how do you feel the program is?
I feel pretty good about it. I mean, I've been here since 2011 in some capacity, varsity coach. I think this is my 8th year, and we've had quite a run. Going back to Naya's freshman year. It's been, Lawrence basketball has been pretty good. We haven't finished, I don't think, below 4th in those 13 years. And I don't see that going away anytime soon. I think this community just kind of lives and breathes basketball. Later this afternoon we're actually playing Valley, and I think Bingham is that community that lives and breathes basketball, and we're a little bit bigger and pretty much the same. People here love their sports, and basketball seems to be the key. And then I think we get a lot of good support, and our youth program is rolling as it has been for years. And I just think we're going to continue to do well.
How involved, just to offshoot that a little bit, how involved are you in that lower level programming as far as kind of who runs it? And we were talking to Coach Dennett before, and he's not as happy about his lower level program as some coach as a head coach should be. I would think. I would think as a head coach, that's your feeder program. You need to know who's running things and know how they're running things and have your finger on it, right?
Well, our youth program is PAL, the Police Athletic League, and we're in a situation where I'll get my years wrong, but a number of years ago, Jason Pellerin was the director, and I was the assistant director, and then I took over as the director and did it for a number of years, and then our JV coach Joe Higgins was the director, and he really did a nice job getting that program through COVID, and trying to keep the numbers up that whole time. And now we've got a couple of young people in there doing it. I had a couple of years where a number of years where I wasn't as involved. This year, my daughter, who played here at Lawrence, suddenly wanted to get into coaching, so she's doing a 3rd and 4th grade girls travel team, and then I volunteered to be her assistant. So I'm getting involved, and we're lucky that we have Mike McGee and Joey Marcoux, 2 veteran, very knowledgeable coaches at our junior high level. So our girls get to come up through and experience a lot of good coaching. Some of the girls from the program, Kaylee Elkins is coaching one of our teams at the younger level this year. We're really working to get some of our girls there this year to help out with practices and games. So, to try to keep, people interested, keep the numbers up, and keep the talent rolling.
That's awesome.
I think anytime that, especially you look at a lot of the programs, and at the junior high level, you just don't get the coaches with the knowledge, because obviously, people have jobs, or you don't have teachers in that school that have either played or just coaching experience. But your program is very gifted with like you said,
you got Mike
Mr.
McGee coaching the 7th grade.
Yeah,
that's whatever.
You can't ask for anything more than that. That's a credit to your program.
It really is with Mike and with Coach Marcoux. Coach Marcoux's been here a long time. He coached Cindy Blodgett in 7th or 8th grade. He's been there forever. With those two there, McGee and Marcoux, when we come up here and we start talking about basket line and help side and getting up the line a little bit. I know these girls have all heard those terms before. They don't look at me like I'm crazy. It's like, yeah, we got it, Coach. There's probably not much defensively that I'm going to say or get after them about that Coach McGee didn't do a couple years ago. So that makes it good.
As you go into your preseason schedule, do you go after, depending on where your team is, and your team is very talented, do you try to scrimmage the top teams in the state, or do you fill out your schedule with opponents that have always maybe come to you or are in the area?
This tournament today that we run a play day is really about just getting some teams in here, and then I set the schedule and I try to pick some of the better teams to play. But it's, we do 20-minute running time halves. Today is really just about getting on the court, working out some of the kinks that you tried to, of things you tried to put in this week. But then we do try to get some of the better teams around. We play Cheverus, Spruce Mountain, and Ellsworth in the preseason this year. Those are 3 very good programs, the teams that are going to challenge us. I think it's good to play a little bit of a mixture. You want the opportunity to get a lot of your kids some time on the court, and you want the opportunity to really challenge your better kids and your older kids in terms of a close game. So I think it's important that you do play some of those better teams.
So last question for you, Coach. How do you mitigate that overconfidence that you're coming into the season with really high expectations? These kids have won a lot of games by a lot of points, and I think we talked about this last year throughout the season. How do you get them to stay grounded, if you will?
Well, I mean, we've been fortunate here at Lawrence that not only do we have good players, we have great kids. We have kids who are pretty grounded. I think this community breeds or raises those types of kids. I think, a lot of our overconfidence is external. It comes from other kids within the school. It comes from parents. It comes from relatives. It comes from friends. I think as a team, we're pretty grounded. I want us to walk out there, and we do, with some confidence and a little bit of arrogance that we are pretty good, but we also know that we have to play to get it done. Again, we talk about this team meeting we had yesterday, and one of my categories was, block it all out. It's us versus the world. We're everybody else's target.
Yep.
But block all these things out. We don't go home and listen to what's on social media or look at what's on social media or what's being said around the community. Just you go home and you take care of business, and we come in, and in the gym we just block it all out and really just try to move forward together and get better every day.
Well, we're looking forward to the season. Obviously, we'll have all 9 home games for the Lawrence girls. We'll be covering all the Lawrence boys and girls this year, as well as the Waterville boys and girls, Skowhegan boys and girls. We'll be looking forward to covering the girls' games this year. And I'll just leave you with this. A couple times last year you had a couple of girls on the floor. They had a bingo. They had a bango, and they didn't have a bongo. And you take them out, in the quarter when they got to get that last 3. Larry was very disappointed. He loves to call those bingo, bango, bongos out. So
Come on, Coach.
Be thinking it through there when you're on the. Maybe we need to get assistant head coach Rusty Mercer, who's undefeated, back in there to make some decisions.
Who's going to wear the headset so we can talk to him during the game, Coach?
It is funny. The kids do like the bingo, bango, bongo. They even talk about it in practice when they make a couple. But maybe we could get some sort of signal or a headset or a signal that, hey, someo's got 2. I lose focus and don't see that.
Come on, you don't recall? What are you thinking of?
I think we could get you a few more this year.
I'll get one of those little laser pointers and I'll point it at you. We appreciate you giving us some time today. We wish you the best of luck on the season, and we'll be back after this with Waterville boys head coach Jared Brown. Epic View Studios preseason coaches show. Rick Dougal, Larry Workman. We're joined by head coach Jared Brown of the Waterville boys. We're switching things up here. We had the girls first, a couple of girls coaches. Now we're going with the boys here. L-Dub, our show is brought to you by Hammond Lumber Company with 22 locations across Maine and New Hampshire and online at hammondlumber.com. Coach, first year last year with Waterville, correct?
Correct.
Tough season. Kind of getting used to the program and the kids, and what did you learn from that season to take forward this year?
The biggest thing I learned was we've got a lot of hardworking kids in our program. They're not happy with not having a whole lot of success in basketball, and I learned that they were willing to listen to me and work as hard as they possibly could, no matter what the score was. And even though a lot of our games did not end up the way we wanted, we played like it was 0-0 the entire time. Like I told them a lot of times after games, I'm really proud of them. We're producing character, not characters. So I'm really happy with the work ethic they've shown and the willingness to learn. And because they've shown those things, I think we'll have a lot more success this year than we've had in the past.
Great.
Talking about preseasons, how does your numbers look? And Any surprises in this preseason?
Yeah, we had 35 kids sign up and try out.
Jeez, that's
We
a
ended
great-
last year with
that's a great
17
number.
healthy bodies in the program, so we doubled our numbers just in one off season. So we've got a full varsity, a full JV, and a full freshman team. We'll swing some kids through. Yeah, so our returning players, we return 5 kids who started at least one game last year. We bring back a player who missed all of last year with a torn ACL, and a player who was injured from football last year. So we bring back add two pretty key additions to our team that we didn't have last year. So right there, that depth and that experience is going to help us. We bring back our two leading scorers, leading shooters, Derek Kuchar and Eli Cullen. Derek was KVAC. He led the KVAC in three-pointers made with 55. Eli was on the KVAC all-rookie team, and he led the league in three-point percentage. Garrett Gendro is back. He was KVAC all-honorable mention. And Chris Knopfel was KVAC all-defense last year. So we have some pieces. What we were focusing on in the preseason and the off-season was developing guys around them, trying to develop some depth. And a lot of guys have put in a lot of time, and it's preseason, so there's spots to be won, and guys are competing in practice and getting after those spots. So really happy with the numbers and the direction that we're in.
What do you think is attributed to that? That's a big turnaround, doubling your numbers like that.
Right. I think a lot of the guys, they recruited their friends to come out this year that may have taken the last couple of years off. They saw what we did in the summer as far as like player development. Kids came to the gym, they wanted to work hard, and they got better. A lot of our guys also work out on their own at the Y, at the Alphon Youth Center. Bethel Fountain there was one of my assistants last year, so that helps too, getting kids in the gym. So kids just show up and they bring their friends, and they bring their friends, and it just snowballs from there. Still a lot of work to do, but the numbers are there, and the kids are working hard. So, again, really proud of the effort that we put in as far as getting kids into the gym.
How do you establish the expectations in the season? Do you is it something that you talk to your assistant coaches about? Is it something that you involve the players in? Do you talk to them? And how do you arrive at those expectations?
Yeah, it's a combination of all of those things. After the season, coaches, we got together, we talked. I made up a list of things that we did well, that we need to work on, and how we go about doing that. So when we got to the summer schedule, we did those things.
Yeah.
It's just a matter, like, when you teach, you figure out what your kids need to know and how you go about doing that and how you're going to implement that. And it's the same thing with sports, same thing with basketball. I'm very lucky to have on my staff educators. My assistant Mike Sandoval is a teacher. Noah Corrett, my freshman coach, is a teacher. My JV coach Ethan Welch has his teaching degree, so we've got teachers on our staff, and I think that goes a long way in developing our talent. Talked to our kids this summer, like, how do you feel last year going out? A lot of it was, we're very close. We just need to keep working hard. So if the kids realize that, again, they get their friends involved. They say, hey, we're really close to doing something special here. Maybe if they show up, they work hard, maybe we get us over the top.
Yep.
So again, it's the kids working, like one of our guys, Cade, I know he's called kids, get them in the gym all summer. So we've got really good leadership from our guys, and they set the tone too in practice. We set it as coaches for them, and again, it's one of those from the top down. We set the expectation, the kids set the expectation. We hold the kids accountable. The kids hold themselves accountable.
It's funny, you're talking about getting the kids in the gym. Larry and I were talking the other day about how we used to have to sneak into the gyms because you couldn't get into
Can't
the
do
gym
that
back
now.
in the days, right? now the gyms are open all the time, and the kids can go play all they want, So
Right.
that's great.
Well, that's a great thing. It really sounds like the kids are buying in. And buying in might not be the right words, but you got to have the kids believe.
Right.
And this is a program that's been down for a few years, and looks like you're really on the right path to really rebuild this Waterville program. Because back in the days when we went to school, Waterville was a power in the Class A. So, it starts with kids, and it sounds like you're on that path. Let's talk about the conference. Who do you see as some of the top teams in the conference?
All right, well, we're still technically in KVAC Class B, but we're in C South as far as the MPA is concerned. So we play a kind of a hybrid schedule of KVAC D and some MVC teams. The KVAC, we don't play Madomic or Oceanside or the teams that were the powers last year. So for the KVAC teams we play, I think Winslow is going to be pretty tough. They've got two really good players back, Braden Roderick and Carter Calvo. They've got some good role players around them. Coach Lindelof is going to have them ready to go. They're going to be tough. Mount View's coming off a state championship appearance. They're going to be tough. We've added Morse and Levitt this year, who we didn't play last year. I know Levitt has one very good player. We played them in the preseason last year. I've coached this kid at camp too, so they're going to be tough. Morse, good numbers in their program, a new young coach. They're going to be tough. So there's no off days in the KVAC. And as far as the MVC teams go, we play the top teams there too. We play Winthrop, we play Mount Abram, we play Halldale, who's very good. So every night it's going to be a test for us. It's going to be a challenge. We play the KVAC schedule. We play 13 of our games against Class B schools and 5 against Class C. So if we do get fortunate enough to make the Class C tournament, hopefully that schedule that we've played is going to prepare us. But it's just a matter of executing every night and getting ourselves in that position that we can get there.
Now, Mount View was very similar to that last year
Right.
because they played a BC schedule, and like you said, they made it to the state
Right.
game, and they had a great run. It's been many years since Mount View has
Right.
been back up, competing at a high level.
Right.
Obviously, you guys went down to Class C because of the numbers. Is that where you want to be, or would you rather get back up into B?
Honestly, I just want to focus on improving every day, and wherever the MPA tells us to play, we'll play there. If they want to put us in Double A next year, I'm fine with it. We've got to worry about who's on our schedule and worry about tournament and classification after that. But we've got to take care of ourselves before we can worry about who we're going to play and where we're going to play.
Yeah, I noticed the girls are still in B though. So
Right.
the MPA tells you, or do you why do they tell them to be in B but you guys are in C?
So 2 years ago, the proposal they came up with was if you have lost 75% or more of your games over the past 4 years, then you drop down a class.
Okay.
So the Waterville girls were very good under Coach Rob Roderick. Well, they won, say, 15 games that fourth year of the determination of what your winning percentage is. So they were really good 1 year and then fell off the next 3. Well, that 1 year has put them above the 75% mark, so they
okay.
stay in B. Whereas the boys were always right about the 75 or below.
Yeah.
So the boys technically dropped, the girls stayed, but we still play the same regular season schedule.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter for the tournament
Yeah.
seedings where we fall after that.
You've already kind of talked about this, how you feel about the direction of the program, but I guess I'll change it up a little bit and say, did you think it would happen this fast? You come in 1 year and, you have a tough year, and then you come back the next year and all of a sudden, you doubled your numbers. I mean,
Right.
did you think it was going to happen that fast?
That's-
was your plan coming
That's
in?
a good question because last year we had 30 kids try out.
Yeah.
And I don't think they realized what they were getting into, some of them. So as the season went on, we lost a couple along the way, and those kids didn't come back this year.
Okay.
So we had really good numbers in our freshman class. I think we had 13 freshmen sign up. So we worked a lot in the off season with our junior high programs. Ethan, Coach Welch, my JV coach, and Coach Correct coached the middle school travel team in the spring. So we established connections with those kids, and I oversaw, I was like the general manager of the thing. So they knew all of us. So hey, basketball season, summer basketball, they all came out for summer basketball. So it's just those little things that you do in the off season, like catch kids' attention.
Yeah.
It is kind of not surprising, but I'm glad that kids are willing to learn in a tough situation with 3-win team. Oh, who wants to play for a 3-win team?
Right.
Well, it says a lot about these kids' character that they want to show up and help us win.
And how do you feel like once you came in? I'm sure you took a look at the landscape, if you will, and see how the lower levels are. Are you happy with kind of how that's being run and,
Yes.
and where things are going there?
Right. One of the big reasons I put in for the job was that Bethel Fountain was the director at the Alfond, and I coached baseball with her for a couple of years and known her forever. And we have the same philosophy as far as player development goes. So when I got the job, I've written up a curriculum for player development way back from when I was at Oak Hill. So I wrote up a curriculum. We gave that curriculum out to all of our rec coaches at the Alfond. I ran a coaches clinic. So I wrote up a practice plan, like a template for them to follow every day. So at practice, they're not just rolling the balls out, they're actually teaching skills and showing the kids how to play instead of just watching them play.
Right.
So we've got consistent fundamentals being taught all the way up down through the kindergarten level. And again, it's going to take a while, but the pieces are in place. I've got a coaches clinic coming up in 2 weeks now for the youth coaches. I've run youth clinics in the spring and the summer and the fall. So we're doing everything we can because we're trying to build it the right way.
Oh, it's so important to
Yeah.
be involved. That that's your feeder program. Over the years, being involved in, whether it's broadcasting or just being a fan in certain areas that I've lived in, you can really tell the success of a program by that lower level.
Right, and it just as an opposing coach, is seeing the Alphonse Center in Waterville, just this huge, beautiful facility. I was wondering why is this facility not producing the players that you think it would? Well, you've got to get in there, you got to work, you got to communicate, you got to be present, you got to do all these things. So hopefully now that I'm doing these things, we'll see that turnaround.
Awesome.
Well, it definitely sounds like the groundwork has been set, and now it's just it takes time, takes kids, and like you said, it takes them to get into the gym. And what a great facility the Alphonse Center is. Yeah. Preseason, I'm going to go back to that. How do you set up your preseason schedule? You balance it off. You want to get enough practice times before games, or do you want to play right off?
Well, for us in the state of our program, you can never get enough practice time. Yeah. But at the same time, you need game experience to get your stuff into play. We play on Tuesday at Foxcroft Academy.
That's a good program.
Yep. They have their football state game today, so their football players may not be ready to go, but hey, whatever. The next weekend, we're at Mattanocook for their tip-off tournament, and then we play Monmouth before our season opener. So we play a smaller Class B school in Foxcroft, and at Mattanocook we play Bucksport and Madawaska. So two pretty good Class C teams. Monmouth, obviously, defending state champions. Yeah. So we're trying to schedule teams about our size, about the Class C teams. Last year we played at Lawrence, and it didn't go as well as we would have. We played Lawrence and Skowhegan. Well, I appreciate the competition level, but it wasn't what we needed
at that
to
time.
make our program better.
I think that's so important as a coach to see where your program is at, and because you got to challenge your kids, but you also got to be realistic and bring them along and not play a Lawrence or a Skowhegan or a Class A school.
Yeah, we do play Monmouth, who's Class C, state champions, but they're in our league. They're in our division. So, hey, if we want to get to the top, this is the top.
Yeah.
So, and we played them last year, too. So we saw how good they actually were last year. A lot of people, I don't know if they realize how good they were. But, again, we're trying to balance the competition versus our level versus where we want to get to.
Yep. Well, we're looking forward to the season. We're going to be broadcasting all 9 home games this season. And maybe if there's a tournament game, you maybe get a home tournament opener. We can't go down to Augusta. We haven't figured that Augusta thing out yet, whether we can be down there or not.
You ready to set up at Waterville Junior High for a home game?
Yeah, I heard we're going to be at the junior high. Actually, I think we're still trying to figure out how we're going to hook in there. I know Gage, our master production guy over here, is trying to figure it out. I think it's till after Christmas, right? You'll be back in the regular
We'll hopefully
gym.
be in the gym Christmas vacation.
Yeah, so we're looking forward to it. Coach Jared Brown, we appreciate you coming in,
Thank
giving
you very
us
much.
a few minutes here and talking about the season. We wish you the best of luck. We're going to take a break. We'll be back with more of the Coaches Show, brought to you by Hammond Lumber Company with 22 locations across Maine and New Hampshire and online at hammondlumber.com. Welcome back to the Epic View preseason coaches show. Rick Dougal, Larry Workman, joined by head coach Mike LeBlanc of the Skowhegan Lady Riverhawks. I almost said the I word. I always make that mistake once or twice a year. Our coaches show, by the way, brought to you by Hammond Lumber Company with 22 locations across Maine and New Hampshire and online at hammondlumber.com. Coach, hustling in here after a game. Played your 2 games this today. How are you feeling about the preseason so far? You feeling like it's a pretty good start to the year? Or?
I think it went pretty well this morning. We got off to a slow start both games, but we competed and we made the games close in the end. And I was proud of the girls, the way they played. We don't have much in right now, and I have 7 freshmen. So unlike Lawrence and Cony, I don't have that set plays yet. So we've been doing a lot of skill work, and to go in and just able to run a little bit of an offense, I was very proud of them today.
Good.
So, the preseason, obviously this is the first week you've been together, a couple days of tryouts, and then, your preseason starts. You play this weekend in Fairfield, next weekend. Do you play in Skowhegan? Do you guys have a tournament there?
No,
or
we actually play Tuesday versus Herman, and then we go to Madison the following week.
for
Just
their
2 more,
tournament?
yeah.
So, when you we start talking about expectations in the preseason, do you just talk to your team about that, or do you talk to your coaching staff and you get an understanding where they're at and what your expectations for this team is?
Our expectations throughout the whole year will be just to be able to compete and give us your best effort every day. I mean, if it's a preseason game, tournament game, regular season game, your homework, our expectation is give your best and get after it.
And obviously, Skowhegan has a great tradition, whether that's basketball, field hockey, Skowhegan. There's a lot of great athletes that have come through that school, and basketball has been very successful when you're here and even before you've been here.
We've been very fortunate at Skowhegan with our female athletes. I mean, our boys have programs that do well at times, but every year in and out, one of our girls' teams are up there and ready to compete at the highest level.
So, what do you have for returning starters from last year? You have a couple of girls that are back this year, I think.
I have the Fry girl and the Cook girl, who are both my post players. They both return. And I have the Jones kid and the Moore kid that played significant minutes last year.
Yeah. And what kind of an improvement have you seen in those specific kids coming back for another year? Did they work throughout did they play a lot of sports where they don't really get a chance to work on basketball as much, or did they have a chance to work on it?
They all play a different sport in the fall, and then in the summer they're pretty busy too. The Cook girl actually went to North Carolina for like 2 weeks for some retreat thing, so she missed a lot of the summer basketball. But I think they need to do a little bit more, but like I said, it's a time constraint. The kids have other things to do, and I'm okay with that. It's not like they're sitting around not doing anything.
Right.
You talk about the conference. Who do you see as the teams that are going to be up near the top of the conference?
Well, I think we pretty much matched. The top 4 are going to be Cony, Lawrence, Hamden, and Camden. Not in any order. I'm not going to pick my order yet, but with everybody that they have returning, it's going to be probably those top 4, and the rest of the teams are going to be fighting for the bottom 5 or 4 spots.
Yeah, we're actually talking to Coach Dennett and Chesley before. They said that there was a lot of improvement. Last year it was like Lawrence and everybody else, right?
Yep.
Now a lot of teams have come up to that, maybe not at that level, but they're competing, and you're going to get strong competition every night.
Every night, because I lost 3 starters. I'm not sure anybody else has lost that much, and the other teams that are in our conference, they're studs or their best players were juniors and sophomores. So
Right.
every team in our conference probably got better.
Yeah, Brewer. We actually
Yep.
nobody. We've the ones that kind of mentioned Brewer, because they're they got the
Flag girl.
flag girl back, so they're gonna be a force as well. So I think it's gonna be very competitive every night.
Oh, most definitely. I mean, Brewer's got flag, and the Ford girl can knock them down.
Oh, yes, that's
from
right.
anywhere.
The Ford girl. She's a very good athlete.
Did
And
she
they
get
get
a
after
bingo
it.
bango bungo once?
Yeah, I'm
Yes, she
probably
does.
sure she did.
Now, how do you feel about where your program is at? And what I mean by that is, the varsity level and the feeder program, and how much do you have a say in the feeder program all the way up through?
I don't really have much of a say. I leave that up to the middle school coaches to do that, and the rec department. They do a fine job. We get a lot of kids playing. This is actually the first year our numbers have increased. I had like 24 kids trying out.
Wow.
So, I mean, my first year we had 15, and 9 of them were freshmen.
Wow. That's
So the numbers are actually good.
How many years is this for you?
This will be my 10th
Your 10th year.
year. Yep.
At Skowhegan,
Yes.
or
Yep.
where did you coach before that?
I was at Forest Hills for 17 years.
Oh, okay.
Geez, you missed that drive, I bet.
Oh yeah.
So in the preseason, Coach, when you're talking about the getting ready for that, who do you play in specific tournaments every year, or do you try to line up the teams that you're going to play to be competitive? But you don't want to go in and play, the highest level and get blown out, right out of the gate, right? So
No, we actually every year we come here and we usually go to Cheverus and then Hamden Academy, but Hamden Academy's this week, and Cheverus, I told them that we're not going to match up
yeah,
down there. So I try to get competitive games. I mean, I don't mind going in and getting blown out, but it's not beneficial to the team that's blowing me out.
Right.
So I just try to keep things in a perspective and go where we're able to compete and both teams get something out of it.
right.
And obviously, you talk about your opponents who you want to schedule, but, I would say probably 2 or 3 years ago when you had that really strong group led by J.C. Christopher, you would want to play anyone, anywhere in the state.
Right, and we did. We played Greeley, we played Cheverus, and it didn't matter because both teams were going to benefit. That's my biggest philosophy when we play in a preseason or scheduling anything, that both teams are going to benefit from it.
So speaking of JC and that team, we'd be remiss if we didn't ask you, kind of what was your favorite moment of that season, that state championship run?
Well, I can tell you in the state championship game, it was when Reese made a basket, and everybody all year told me that she's going to kill me at certain points, and she always made a point of, I'm going to prove everybody wrong, and not going to hurt you. I'm going to do my best, and she wasn't a scorer. We had teams that didn't even guard her, so they could double team Jay, but she went out and she did everything that was asked of her, and during that game, she got the pass on the wing, shot the ball, and it went in. And I was just at that point, I think we called a timeout, and I brought her over. I said, I don't care, win or lose. That just made my day.
That's awesome.
And it did. It's just remarkable that what she did. I mean, they all did their part, but Reese took over for the team. She knew she wasn't a scorer, but she did everything she had to do, and she was positive. She was just a great teammate, and that's what I tell my daughter when she's playing in college now, that you don't have to be that superstar. Just be a good teammate.
Well, it's so important to, and it's rare, really. I mean, the teams that win championships are the ones that have those role players that know their role and they're good with it, right? I mean, because especially nowadays, and we were talking to, I think it was Coach Dennett that talked about the kids the expectations of the kids that they just walk on the floor and they're going to start varsity, right? And it's
It
hard
doesn't work that way.
Right.
No.
And to get a team, the teams that have the championship runs are the ones that have the role players that make they don't show up in the stat book, right? But if without them on the team, you may not get to the top.
And we had perfect example of that. Jay could have scored 40, 50 points every single game if she wanted to, but she knew she needed her teammates.
That was one thing I noticed, and I don't mean to cut you off there, but it reminded me of that season when we were calling some of the games, is from her junior year to her senior year, that was the biggest improvement I saw was that she really knew that she needed to get everybody involved, and she made a conscious effort to do that. And actually, the Bouchard girl did the same thing on Lawrence's championship run, right? All year long, she was getting 10, 12, 15 points a game, right? You knew she could score 30, right? But she got everybody involved, and it made a difference in the end.
Makes a huge difference.
It's about your best player making other players around them better. And some players or so-called parents don't understand that. They're looking at one where you as a coach and other coaches are, how can we be better as a team?
Well,
and
I
it's
tell
on
the
her.
parents, I have a saying, I said, you guys need to go home and make one daughter happy. I need to make 12 happy. But Jay did that. She made everybody else better. I think the first 3 games of that year, that season, she was not the leading scorer.
Yeah.
We had a different one. And it came down to help us in the end when Annabelle gets hurt in the game, and I had to put Ariana in. Ariana stepped up.
Yeah.
And we didn't know if Callaway was going to play. But
Yeah, that's a great story too that you have told me that she's my Willis Reed.
Yep.
Someone's Willis Reed, back in the 70s.
Yeah.
Willis Reed, limped in for Game 7 of the finals, and very
Yeah.
similar story.
Yeah, I had no idea. I asked Tyler, our trainer, I said, can I run her before we get on the bus? He said, absolutely not. He goes, you're not going to know if she can play until she steps on that court for warm-ups.
Wow.
So when I handed my lineup in, I told the lady, I said, this is the one for right now. She goes, what do you mean right now? I said, I got a kid that I don't even know can play. And, I mean, she goes out and just plays a monster game. We don't win that game without her.
Yeah.
I mean, she got picked up fouls on the big kid from Greeley and just played with all her heart. But that's the way she is anyways.
Yeah.
She's a competitor.
Yeah, that's the things you don't know until
Right.
the time comes, right? But that's great. Well, listen, we'll be broadcasting all 9 home Skowhegan games, both on the girls and boys side. And we wish you the best of luck, Coach. Thanks for coming in, and
I appreciate it.
have a great season.
Thank you.
All right. We'll be back after this with more of the preseason coaches show, brought to you by Hammond Lumber Company, with 22 locations across Maine and New Hampshire, and online at hammondlumber.com. Welcome back to Epic View Studios preseason basketball coaches show. We're joined by head coach of the Lawrence Bulldog boys, Jason Pellerin. Jason, thanks for coming in and spending a few minutes with us.
Thanks for having me. And, welcome to Lawrence. Looking forward to the winter season with you guys.
So, any surprises so far in the preseason? What have you seen that's good? What have you seen that's not so good? And how you see in the season progressing as you start?
I think that I have seen some things. We have some an infusion of some young guys that really practice hard. They're really getting after it. So that's been a lot of fun. I think there's been a really good energy about the team, very positive with each other. Teenagers, I don't know if you've ever been around them. Don't mind like throwing out little subtle cuts every now and then on guys. I have not felt it. I have not seen that. Just really positive with each other. And I think when positivity breeds positivity, and then that brings about the right energy that you can use to try to improve.
So far, I've been around 4 teenage daughters, so yes, I've been around teenagers.
You felt it. All right.
If you want to know the truth. Well, that's good, Larry.
Returning starters. I know you've had a couple injuries coming into the season due to football, unfortunately, but who's coming back? Some of the names that the listeners would remember from last year.
Well, if they do remember, they have really good memories. But we have Cole Kirian, who played point for us last year. He'll be back this year. He's bigger. He's stronger. He's really worked on his shooting. His rhythm's really good right now. So really enjoyed what he's bringing so far. Really taking on the leadership mantle for the basketball program and doing a good job with it too. He's one of the positive influences that we've had. Some guys that were on the team last year, but probably got a little bit more time on JV. Trevor Pellerin, Preston Roy. He's going to be, a dog on the ball for us defensively. Trevor's more, a distributor, shooter, but has been taken to the basket a little bit more in practice, so that's good to see. Leighton Bradford, an offensive-minded player, but, working on the defensive side. Dawson Moore will provide, a spark for us as well from the outside. Keegan Littlefield. And really, Keegan Littlefield will be a sophomore this year. He was our starting cornerback this year in football, had a great football season, is really bringing that athleticism and physicality to the basketball court, so we're excited by that. And Braden Davidson has been outstanding. He's a guy, if you had to give a most improved award from freshman to senior year, a guy that's just stuck with it and continues to work on his body and work on his game. He's a guy who saw very little court time on the varsity last year, but is going to be a major contributor to us. You'll see his energy level when we play. He plays exceptionally hard. And we have Brady Richards, provide some size off the bench. I got a couple freshmen, Ryder and Miles Provost, and then Anthony Almeida, a sophomore, who's practiced really well, and Landis Mansfield. So I've listed the whole roster. But, we really like the team that we have. We've got an interesting mix of 3 seniors, 3 juniors, 3 sophomores, 3 freshmen. I can't remember a time when we've done that. But, we're a pretty small school now. We're about like 520 kids. We just played Herman the other day. They're Class B, and they're 584. Wow. Levitt's bigger. Erskine's bigger. Ellsworth is bigger. These are all teams that we're talking, playing Class B right now. I think Spruce is I could be wrong on Spruce. But anyways, it's where we're at, so it's just kind of a different grouping. I've never had 3-3-3, and I can't think of a Coach McGee coach team that ever had 3-3-3.
Yeah, that's very, very rare. That usually you're 5 or 6 seniors, 5 or 6 juniors, and then you sprinkle in a sophomore or 2, or maybe a freshman that's really that's their craft. But sounds like you're very athletic, but very size-wise you're not very big.
Well, we are a little bit shorter this year, and so really doing some things. Again, we're going to have to play exceptionally hard.
Do you think it's going to be? Are you going to have some more full court stuff? Some more, try to get out and run more. To try to mitigate that size issue.
Yeah. Well, 2 things allow you to run. Number one is if you're able to create turnovers, live turnovers allows you to run. So we will do some things without pressure this year. Number 2, you have to be able to rebound. So checking out is going to have to be exceptionally important for us. And, we had a preseason game against Herman the other day, and they had like 6'4", 6'5", 6'2", or 6'3". We didn't block out very well in the first half. In the second half, you could see the kids make a commitment to it, and it did kind of make a difference for us. So, we know that's what we have to do. But again, it's going to come down to our effort level, our toughness, and the energy level that we play with. That's going to have to propel us, during this 18-game schedule that we have.
So, how do you establish expectations each season? Do you sit down with your assistants and talk about it with them? Do you talk and involve the players? How do you arrive at those expectations before the season begins?
I think the expectations is more not really win. It can't be based upon wins and losses. I don't really like the term process, but it is process based. And the point, again, we have got to be the first team to the floor. The whole team, we've got to be committed to each other and to ourselves that we're going to make that commitment, that we're going to out hustle the other team each and every night. And that is the expectation we can control. The wins and losses are a byproduct of what taking good shots, letting the ball find the open shot, sharing the ball. We have 3 pillars and it's on every practice plan. Relentless, connected, effort. 3 separate words, but basically it's going to come down to relentless, connected effort. That's how, and that's the expectation we can set. A lot of that's set by me, but we do talk about it as a coaching staff to a certain extent. But I get together with some other coaches. We little mini coaching clinics. Went to a couple coaching clinics this off season, and so you pick little ideas that you hear. The Husson coach, an outstanding talk on culture building. Outstanding. Learned a lot. And a lot of your expectations are based upon the culture that you set for your team. So that's where they come from.
Okay, let's talk about the conference that you're in, KVAC. Who are the stronger teams do you feel that you're going to be playing against?
Well, number one, I feel it's relatively wide open. I know the coaches poll had Hamden number 1, and I think they're going to be very good. They're always going to be exceptionally well coached. They're going to be well disciplined. They're going to play hard. They're going to rebound well. And so Hamden is up there. They've got a lot of height. But they're having to replace their 2 leading scorers for, if not the last 2 years, almost the last 3 years. and that's a lot. You know, those two guys combined, you're probably talking about 43 points a game. If one of them averaged 15 and McLaughlin averaged like 27 or 28, you're talking Wolfington and McLaughlin. So that's 43 points. That's a lot. So they're going to be in some new roles, but they've got some great athletes. Korkendorfer, exceptional athlete. We saw him out here on Kai's.
Hannigan.
But both Hannigans.
Yeah.
Liam's a junior, and he's 6'5", 6'6", and he's a long 6'5", 6'6". So
He looked like he put on some size too in football.
well, that was his brother. That was his
okay.
brother.
Oh, okay.
That's the older brother,
Okay.
who is bigger, very athletic, very strong physical player. Liam is a little bit more of a skilled
Yeah.
basketball player. It'll be interesting to see how he steps into that role. As now he was maybe the third or fourth scorer last year. Now he's one or two.
Yeah.
And that's always an interesting leap. How does somebody adjust to that? How does someone now adjust to being, oh, now we're taking the ball out of your hands, or now we're denying you? Before, you've always been able to get off any shot you wanted.
That's true. Yeah, he's a heck of a defender too. I remember.
Oh,
last year,
outstanding.
They put him on the best player they played against in each game, and he was very, very good.
Yep. No, good footwork. Moved well for a 6'5", 6'6" guy, and again, use that length to. When you can close out to airspace, that was something I noticed about Hamden last year. When they closed out, it wasn't like a lot of coaches teach a hand to the forehead to bother the shot. They were closing out 2 feet in the air,
Yeah.
above the shot, and that's just different.
Yeah, we talked about that, the Nokomis team a few years ago with the flags. I thought they did that exceptionally well, and not a lot of teams can do that.
Not in the KVAC.
Yes.
Not in KVACA. The only two teams I've seen do it in a long time it is Hamden last year, because McLaughlin would even. I mean, his springs were fantastic when his ankle wasn't hurting him or his foot. He would go up and challenge those shots in the. But yes, Nokomis 2 or 3 years ago with the flags.
I thought the kid from Mount Blue last year too,
He could challenge.
Sterling. Boy, he was ridiculous.
He was ridiculous, even on threes.
Yeah, he blocked a couple threes in the Skowhegan game.
the Skowhegan
last
game.
year.
He blocked 4 that game.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah,
crazy.
that's right. You were up there
I was up
scouting.
There. But with like Mount Blue, it was one guy. Mm-hmm. With Hamden, it was almost like the whole team.
Right.
And with the you had Madden White, and you had the 2 flags that year. They won states. It's just different when you're challenging shots in the air. It's just so much different than what we're used to seeing.
That looks like Brewer too, actually coming off a 4-14 season, which is un-Brewer-like. Looks like I think they were third in the coaches poll, so they got a lot of kids back, so they're going to be a challenger too.
They have everybody back except one.
Yeah.
They graduated their 6'7" guy and replaced him with a skilled 6'7" freshman.
Oh, okay.
So they lost a guy who was maybe played a little bit more physical, but they replaced him with a very skilled 6'7", 6'6" player. Coach Parker said he's about 6'6", and I said, well, what does that mean? Does that mean he's 6'10", or does it mean he goes, no, anywhere between 6'5" and 6'7". I was Meslonsky's going to be good. They've got some really good. Ty Bernier's really good
The
returning
kid's
guard.
going to be out for a while, though. He broke his forearm in football, so that will hurt him initially. Of course, the Smith
kid
left,
went
so,
to prep.
But they'll still be good.
But Reynolds is an outstanding athlete for them. 6'6", 6'7", with like maybe 7-foot arms. I swear he can scratch his ankles without bending over. His arms just go on forever, and has really tied his athleticism into this giant growth spurt that he's had. I mean, he was a guard in junior high.
Oh, no
a
kidding.
tall guard, like maybe 5'8", 5'9", but he's 6'7" now.
Yeah.
That's almost, he's almost grown a foot. And but they have Bernier. They have the parent kid. Both deadly shooters, and Bernier can put it on the floor. Very, very heady player. Great body language. He never gets down. He's just very, very steady. So they're going to be good. Camden's got probably the best player in the conference, and Nolan Ames, who put on 12 pounds of muscle, probably 12 to 15 pounds of muscle, plays above the rim now. Literally, like, this high above the rim.
Wow.
Just an inside out, mid range, passing. He's someone that is just going to be a handful this year.
Kind of like you, Larry, when you played.
Yes,
above the rim. On a
It was
regular basis.
reminding me of that.
Gardner's going to make a push this year. They had a great summer, outstanding summer, and they're ready. Their junior class is good, so they see themselves as having a strong 2-year window to make some noise. And Cony, Mount Blue.
That's going to be a tough
It's going to be.
conference.
It always
I mean,
is.
it always is.
It always
right?
Every
is.
night.
Yeah, you got to play. You're going to play a very good team every night.
Yep.
So how about how do you feel? How long have you been at Lawrence now, as far as head basketball coach?
With the boys?
Yeah.
Since the 2013-14 season.
Okay, so this is your
We're
10th
going-
year.
Going on year 11.
Okay. How do you feel? Where do you feel the program's at? Are you feeling good about where the program is at overall? And I'm talking about lower levels all the way up. And how involved are you, in the feeder and the lower levels?
I'm probably not involved as much as I would like. As far as we have a basketball camp. Coach McGee and I co-run a basketball camp during the summer. But I do coach full-time 7th and 8th graders during the summer. They come in 2 days a week, so I get to know them pretty
That's
well.
important.
2 days a week, and then we play 2 games on Tuesday nights right through a playoff over in the Cony League. So I get to know the kids that way, which is great. We've got some good young talent coming up through. It's and I think I think you're always looking for, at the minimum, 2 to 3 guys a class to kind of to know that, okay, when this class is, boom, this will be here, we'll have this. But then you have classes where you have more. You might have 5 or 6, which is great. So I think we're in good shape. We have good youth coaches. The guys running the PAL program played here at Lawrence, so I think they understand what it means to play Lawrence basketball. We might not always be the best, but we try to play the toughest. We try to play the hardest, and that's what we hang our hat on. Coming off football season each year, that's something we can try and replicate season in and season out.
Any issues with amounts of players playing? I know one of the things we talked about with Coach Brown from Waterville is he was very excited about the fact that he had double the turnout this year that he had the year before. Obviously, he's in Class C level, which is a little bit different. But are you happy with the amount of kids that are coming out for basketball?
Yeah, I think we had 36 or 37 come out this year.
Nice.
We had 47 try out last year. We're one of the few Class A teams to still have a pure freshman team, so we've been able to do that. A lot of schools go to what's called the first team, and so they'll have a mix of, they could even have some juniors on that team. So we're pleased with the numbers and where we're at. I think last year we had 47 kids try out, which is the most since like the early 2000s, which was great. But this year 36, 37 was fine.
I think that's very important for your program to get kids to play. They're practicing. If you only have 2 teams, you might only have 24 to 28, 30 players playing in your program. Now you got the 3 teams. You got 36 to 40 players practicing and playing. Very, very important to developing their skills.
I think that we have really tried to fight the first team bit because we don't want to. We want all the kids to try and believe that they can develop into a varsity player. Braden Davidson, for instance, no one would have talked about him his freshman year. Sophomore year, things start to click for him a little bit. Now he's staying after on Saturday practices to shoot for about 45 minutes to an hour on his own. And then last year he continued to work out his game. And this year he's starting for us. Now, if we only had 2 teams, he might have ended after his freshman year, or who knows if he even goes out. Yes, we do. We're very cognizant of that. We know that we've had players come through this program that without having 3 teams to learn how to develop, learn how to play, learn how to practice, that we would be really shortchanging the program and would be shortchanging the kids if we got down to just 2 teams.
Let's talk about preseason. How do you pick your opponents, and do you pick them with the experience of your team, or you just go out and play anyone, anywhere?
Sometimes you set up these games like Ellsworth, for instance. We had done something going back and forth with Ellsworth where we had a boy-girl doubleheader during the preseason. We're doing that again this year. We started it again, after COVID. We probably took like 2 or 3 years off, but it's nice to play somebody that's good, that's well coached, that's talented. It's a little bit away. So that's almost one that is almost tradition-based. I do pick the opponents here to a certain extent. Sometimes it fits time slots. Sometimes, we're going to be playing Brunswick. Well, I've got to see how we do against some really, really tall athletes because we're going to play some really, really tall athletes. So playing Brunswick's kind of a good choice, but, we're playing Valley, and Valley has 2 really, really good guards that if they're not already 1,000-point scorers, they're going to be this year, and they're only juniors. So that's important for us to be able to play teams like that. So, and then, if we pick up another team, like last year we were going to play Thornton Academy, but there was some weather issues. So sometimes you do try and, pick a game that kind of maybe fits your talent level to a certain extent. We played Herman on Tuesday night, which was great. Again, that's almost like a bit of a tradition one at this point because we played them a couple times in the last 3 years, and Mark Reed's a fantastic coach. And this year it was good because they, had like 3 guys 6'5", and so we need that challenge to say, hey, if you guys don't block out, we can't run. We're not going to win, and we're giving them way too many second chances. And so it's not just me saying it; it's you guys actually feel it and see it. So that's part of that too.
Well, Coach, we appreciate you coming in for a few minutes. Don't forget, this season we will have all 9 home games for the Lawrence boys and the Lawrence girls. We'll also be at Waterville doing all 9 home games for the girls and boys there, and we'll be in Skowhegan, and we'll be back later on with head coach Tom Netto of the Skowhegan boys for another part of the show. So appreciate you coming in, Coach. Wish you the best of luck this season. And today's Coach's Show brought to you by Hammond Lumber Company with 22 locations across Maine and New Hampshire and online at hammondlumber.com. We'll be back after this. And welcome back to the Epic View Studios preseason basketball show. We're joined by Winslow head coach Ken Linloff. Ken, thanks for giving us a few minutes today.
Absolutely.
So how are you seeing the preseason so far? Kind of give us an overview. Is it good? Has it been not so good? You got a lot to work on, or how are you feeling about it so far?
Well, I'm really encouraged by our work ethic and our togetherness and the way the leadership has really emerged. We've got 4 players that had, a fair amount of varsity experience. I mean, starters. They all, of those 4 guys, they all started at one time or another, and they played quite a bit. After that, we have virtually no varsity experience. So, as I say, we've got a good starting 4. 3 of them are seniors, and one's a sophomore. And then now we're the preseason. We're trying to sprinkle in that 5th guy and find combinations that work. And our older guys have done a really good job of mentoring the young guys. 2 of them are freshmen that are, obviously first-time varsity players. So we're trying to get them acclimated, get them up to speed, literally, for varsity action. And we're seeing growth. So, it's encouraging, and it's a good group to work with.
Good.
You talk about getting the players up to speed. People don't realize, these freshmen that are coming in or first-time varsity players are 15, 16 years
Oh,
old.
yeah.
They're playing against 17, 18-year-old players, and the speed of the game, the physicality of the
Right.
game is
Yeah.
so much different that people don't realize.
No, very much so. It's a faster game than what they're used to. We try to play fast in practice to get them, acclimated. But there's also, times in a practice or games where there'll be, some communication that goes on with the older kids, and the younger kids, are not understanding it, whether it's the offense or defense. So we, try to stop and explain, and have them, kind of learn on the fly. And it's a very coachable group, so it's outstanding. I wish it was a taller coachable group. That would be helpful.
Yeah, size.
Size helps.
Yeah, right.
Obviously, you return. Watching some of your games last year, your point guard
Braden,
Roderick is outstanding player. I really enjoyed watching him play. He's really another coach on the floor for you.
And if you came to our practices, you'd think he was a coach. He explains once again to the younger kids, what this drill should look like, and how this play should be run, and what some of the key teaching points are. So he's going out of his way, to be a leader and to be a mentor. And we're a pretty tight group off the court as well. So that's all good. They enjoy, it's fun to come to practice. It's fun to play in games. They're excited to play, and we won't always be pretty, but so far we'll take the effort and our level of toughness and togetherness. But no, Braden is outstanding. He's going to be as good as player as there is around.
So, Coach, this is just maybe things kind of going off script here, but you've been doing this since, as you said before we went on, since 1977. What's changed? I mean, obviously a lot has changed, but how have you been able to evolve? Because you don't see a lot of coaches that stick with it as long, because it's so much different. The kids are so much different today.
So they are, and they're not.
Okay.
So you coach them hard. You got to be demanding, otherwise you're really not coaching. And you explain to them, why we're doing what we're doing, and then celebrate when they do things well. So staying current with the game is also. Although I still have my, old methods of doing things that I think are still effective. So it's all about those kinds of things, and bringing high energy to practices every day, and getting the kids to respond and work hard. So they don't have time to think and feel sorry for themselves or anything else. We just our practices are pretty. We try to be high paced and have that intensity carry over to games and game scenarios.
So how do you establish your expectations going into the season? Is this something you talk to your other assistants about? Do you talk to the players? I mean, does it obviously expectations change with the type of players that you have and whatnot?
Well, we've basically been together as a group throughout the entire summer, because there's summer basketball, and we play a number of games, a dozen games or so in the summer. So we've kind of worked together. So, first it's about, establishing, the roles. And, when you're in this position, that here's what you're good at, here's what you need to work on, here are some things you probably shouldn't, maybe attempt to do during a game. So we kind of established, individual expectations. And then we try to just mold, so nobody has to go out there and what do I do? Well, stick to your prescribed role. Work hard to improve your game in all aspects, and try to stay away from things that you're really not so great at. That's what practice is for. So we try to make things pretty clear to them about what they should be doing, what they could be doing, and some things maybe to stay away from.
Let's talk about your conference now. Who do you see that is in your conference that should be one of the top teams, or in the Northern Maine?
Yeah, Northern Maine's very strong. I'm probably going to leave some teams out, but Caribou's outstanding. Caribou and Herman, people are talking about them. They return veteran groups. They have size, and they're athletic. Ellsworth is never going to be bad.
Right.
They've got athletes all over the place, even though they lost a bunch, but those teams that have a tradition have residual success because it's just part of the culture. The next guys are ready to step up. So those three come to mind. Of course, we play a lot of teams, Class B South, that we won't see in the postseason, but Oceanside is outstanding. Lincoln Academy is really good. Menominee Valley, excellent. So those teams, we don't play all those teams, but those are the teams that you would expect to be at the top of the heap, I think, when the season winds down.
How long have you been at Winslow?
I don't know, maybe I think this could be 8 years.
Yeah.
I believe.
How do you
I'd
feel?
have to think about it, but
How do you feel about the direction of the program? You happy with the way starting down at the lower levels and working up to the varsity level?
our program, I mean, the community is awesome. Winslow, they support athletics. The kids have recreational basketball opportunities. There's all kinds of select team types of things. Talking to a lot of coaches, or like a lot of other programs, the numbers aren't, spectacular is the thing. There might be a class that's really good, and maybe a couple of classes that, the numbers aren't quite there. But everybody's kind of fighting that. We don't get the number of kids to try out that we used to. I don't think any school really does anymore. There's a few exceptions. So that's kind of that's the whole ball game, is getting started at a younger age. We do a good job at it. You always think you could be doing better. So we're looking to get more and more kids, involved with basketball.
Now, your size of your school, you're considered a Class B school, but your numbers are really low.
Yeah, we're not a big school anymore. We're, near the bottom of, enrollment for Class B. But we don't think about that. And, when we're out there on the court, like I said, we got 3 freshmen that are on varsity, another sophomore that starts. So we kind of have pieces in place to sustain for a few more years too. So this is what you hope for, is to have at the top of the pyramid isn't too small. You're always bringing guys up,
Yep.
coming through. Yep.
Preseason. How do you set up your preseason as far as your opponents? Do you just go and play it anyone, anywhere, or because of your team experience or not, that much experience, do you set your opponents up like that?
Well, we the last few years, we might play 5 preseason games. This year we're just going to play 4. We went to last week at the Skowhegan tournament, and this week here at the Lawrence tournament. And I'm saving a date for later because our schedule's funny. We play 8 countable games before Christmas. So then we've got the rest of the time, and we have some gaps. So I'm saving that to maybe look around, see if we can't find somebody to play another exhibition game with, experienced, bigger school, anybody. So that's what our approach is going to be this year. But usually, we play at least 4 preseason games. These tournaments are very, very handy for them, convenient for us too. We don't have to travel far. We just go up the road.
So I got to ask you, 47 years in coaching, what keeps you coming back here? Because, I talk to coaches that have been in it for a while, and, you got to deal with some of the parents are tough to deal with, and, I don't think the media is really tough, but it's just so many things.
Well, social media might, but
Yeah,
I don't do that, so I don't know. I'm probably getting killed on social media. I wouldn't even know. I'd be the last guy to know. Winslow, I mean, I'm very fortunate to Of course, I coach football here.
Right.
Outstanding support. I coach basketball in Winslow. Once again, outstanding support. I say, that those two communities are what America was. They support they support athletes. It's all about community and pride in their school and their athletes and those kinds of things. So so my job is to live up to the expectations of the community. So I take that very seriously, and I explain that to them. What you're doing is important.
Yep.
And it's important to the community. It's important for, generations of people that come to games. And you're also setting an example for the younger kids that are looking up to you that come to the games too.
Yeah.
So that's what keeps me going. I feel like I'm part of something important.
Yeah.
And I try to communicate that to everybody and get everybody on board.
Well, I don't know what you did for prep in that. Speaking of football, I got to just mention this, the Falmouth game. You had a couple of play calls in that game. Larry and I did the game, and I was like, wow, what a great play call that was. I mean,
We didn't have enough. Didn't have a lot.
No,
of
it
them
wasn't
out there,
enough, but
Well, that team was
But-
just outstanding.
But that, especially the one where you were backed up to the goal line and that little swing pass to Roy, and I think remember you took it out almost to midfield.
yeah.
And I said, wow, that was just a ballsy call, if I may, but it was a good play call.
Well, thank you, I guess. Well, first thing we did is take a delay of game because why not? It was like,
Well,
a
you're on the
six-
one-
It was like a 6-inch penalty. And so I give credit to our. So I called them over. And Preston came over. He goes, Coach, I got the bubble. I go, let's run it.
Let's run it.
What the heck? I mean, we don't want to be punting out of our end zone anyway. So let's try to flip the field a little bit if we can. And Preston and Mike and Preston made a great play. And probably Preston wouldn't be many guys, outside of the kids in Falmouth that would catch him. So yeah. But it's fun. Those are great group of kids to work with, in football, and we would have liked to have done better, but we lost to a worthy team, and they were outstanding. The other thing I was going to say is that when I got back into coaching at Winslow, I hadn't coached for, I coached unified basketball, which is an experience and education.
Mm-hmm.
I learned much more from them than they learned from me. I'm pretty sure.
Right.
But so I was, kind of approached, or why don't you do? I'm like, no. And I'm thinking, you tell the kids all the time, get off the couch, challenge yourself. Even if you fail, get out of your comfort zone and do something that you, meaning me, know how to do, and go to work and just see if you can do it. So that was 8 years ago, and I'm starting to get the hang of it.
Well, we appreciate you spending a few minutes with us today, and we wish you the best of luck in the season. And we're going to step away for a quick break, and we'll come back with more of the Coaches Show, brought to you by Hammond Lumber Company, with 22 locations across Maine and New Hampshire, and online at hammondlumber.com. Welcome back to the Epic View preseason basketball show. Rick Dougal, Larry Workman, and we're joined by head coach Tom Netto of the Skowhegan Riverhawks. I got to always tell myself that, Tom, before, because I've said the I word every now and then. Mm-hmm. I get myself in trouble, but we appreciate you coming in for a few minutes. Today's show brought to you by Hammond Lumber Company, with 22 locations across Maine and New Hampshire, and online at hammondlumber.com. So far preseason, you're just getting underway. How are you feeling about the preseason so far? Have you got any surprises on the good, on the bad? How are you liking where you're settling in?
Yeah, no, it's we've got a couple returners with key minutes the last year, but we got a lot of guys that are going to be getting minutes for the first time. So we're fairly young, we're fairly inexperienced, but I think we'll be competitive. We're dealing with some injuries right now, so we got 3 guys out of our rotation that are out right now. So it makes it a little bit more challenging.
Will they be back before the season
2
is over? Or?
We're hoping 2.
Okay.
We'll be back. Another one a few weeks away. We were told 2 to 3 weeks, and we were just told another 2 to 3 weeks. So we'll see.
Okay.
Some of your returning status that you have talked about. Jackson Height will be will be a senior. Are you looking for the leadership that comes with being a senior, or is there someone else stepping up that will be that leader?
I think that there's a handful of guys that can lead, whether vocally or by example. Jackson's one of them. Aiden McGinty, who's another returning starter, some games last year, and a senior, and he's very capable as well. So we'll see. It's a good group. I think it's going to be a fun group.
Obviously, your son that you coach, Carter, he was a freshman. He got some pretty good minutes that we saw. He
games.
played JV and he also played some varsity.
Yep.
I thought that was really good as a program. He was a freshman. It doesn't have to be your son either. It's someone that's young. You got to get him playing time and learn on the court, but also he's good enough to play at the varsity level, and he did get some time there.
Yeah, he got some minutes here and there, a couple games where where we got more than expected. But we want our guys to develop. And so if we can't guarantee them a bunch of minutes, then we're going to, if the opportunity is to swing them is there, we're going to do it. It's not just him. We did that with 2 or 3 guys.
Yeah, I think that's very important for the development
Yeah.
of your program and the player.
Yep. A couple other kids that we did that with last year who are juniors now, but we'll get more minutes this year. It's Trevor Austin and Jack Fitzpatrick as well. So the development piece is huge. And then Finn Donahue will be another one as well.
So how do you establish expectations for the season? Is it something that you sit down with your assistants and kind of look at what you have coming in? Do you involve the players? What's that process like?
I think a little bit of both. Coaches talk and this and that, but we kind of build off from the summer and kind of go from there. So we kind of have an idea of what we're capable of doing. We just stress to get better. We got a ways to go to get better. And so we just got to work on the little things and work together and do it as a team. And do we involve the guys? Sure. We had a team meeting the other day, a player handbook meeting, where we went through our player handbook, but we also talked about more focused on our expectations for the season.
Yep.
And we kind of gave them a voice too to say, hey, well, what are your expectations? So, we got to be on the same page. And so we've had those conversations.
Yeah, I think when you get the kids to buy in, it makes it that much more accessible, if you will.
Yep, that's the key term. We've used that a lot, to buy in or to listen.
Yep.
Be in alignment with everybody.
Yep.
And with what the coaches want. If everybody's in alignment, then good things can happen.
Yep. I think as you see when you talk about team, certain people have roles, and when players can understand their roles, I think it's more successful as the player and the team. And, it's trying to get them to understand you have a role and to go out and execute that role. Do something that you're successful at, good things will happen.
Yeah. We've preached role play for years. Any team sports, you have to, and, the key is to get these guys to trust in the coaches and what we think is best for the program and for the team. Roles are huge because, we're going to have 7 or 8 guys that would play, and the guys towards the end of that rotation may only get a few minutes, and they need to be okay with that. Because if not, then it can create, resentment and turmoil. And if we're on, if everybody in the boat is rowing one way and 1 or 2 guys are rowing a different way, it's going to be counterproductive. So, getting the guys to buy into the roles is going to be a big piece.
Actually, it was funny you say that. We were talking to Coach LeBlanc of the Skowhegan girls last week. We were talking about the state championship year with J.C. Christopher, and that's one of the things he talked about was the key was not just that you had the best player in the state, but everybody on the team knew their roles, and there was no there was no issues there. So that was the key for their success that year.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. When I think about the teams that I've had over the years, speaking of Christopher, I think the year that we made a run to the regional final with Marcus Christopher, who was a senior.
Right.
We changed things up going into the tournament, how we did things offensively, and it worked to a T in the 2 tournament games that we won, upsetting Hamden and then beating Brewer. Both teams higher seeded than us, and then going from there, and losing a close game to Lawrence. But those guys stuck to their roles.
Yep.
Marcus was the facilitator and creator, and guys, we put guys in shooting spots where we knew they could be open if Marcus drew a double team, and it worked great.
Yep.
So.
Let's talk about the conference. Who do you see the top teams in the conference, and how you stack up?
No, I mean, it's going to be a competitive conference, I think. I don't think there's any teams that you can just show up and play and expect to win. But, Hamden was preseason pick number 1 for the right reason. But you got Messalonsky right there behind them. Brewer, who, only won 3 games last year, but they were in every game. And they returned everybody except one player. And all those guys are going to be seniors. And then they got a incoming freshman who's 6'7", 6'8", who's pretty good. So they're going to be pretty good. And then you got Camden, who's got Nolan Ames, arguably the best player in the league this year. And then Hamden, who's got good players. It's going to be, I think, fairly balanced, fairly competitive league. But if you don't show up one particular night, you could lose.
So how many years have you been at Skowhegan now?
This is my 12th.
12th year.
Yep.
How do you feel the direction of the program is going and starting at the lower levels and coming up to the varsity level? Are you happy with the direction?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we're at the point, I think this is 9 years in a row we've been to the tournament. And so our goal is to try to just be a tournament team. There's going to be some years you're going to go through ups and downs. And, we were preseason pick number 9 this year, so a little extra motivation for those boys, I hope. But we've put some time in with the youth program since we've been here, and we've got good coaches at the youth level, at the middle school, and so it's just trying to get kids to commit and get better and go from there.
Yeah, get them to, that's the hardest thing is that I see with today's kids is there's so many things pulling at them. It's hard to get them to just focus on one thing.
Yep. Absolutely. These kids have video games. They have other sports. You got kids, trying to prioritize one sport year round. That's crazy.
Yeah.
The best athletes are multiple sport athletes.
Right.
And you want kids that are going to play multiple sports.
That was one of my questions. I was going to ask you how you feel about, do you like to see a kid play multiple sports? And then my second question would be, how do you feel about the AAU programs?
No, I mean, multiple sport athletes are huge. You look at some of the best athletes at the highest levels, and those guys played multiple sports, 2, 3 sports. Some guys 4, but it's not easy, but it's doable. It just makes you a better all-around athlete. And then the AAU, I mean, that's tough. It's tough because you have some good coaching and you have some not so good coaching, and so you got to find the right coach that's going to develop the kids that, for me, that are going to teach similar concepts. Outside of that, if they're playing, we're a half-court man type team. If my kids are playing AAU, great. They're playing extra basketball. But if they're playing for a coach that runs a 2-3 or runs a different, style of play, then I'm not sure if that development helps so much.
And you got to kind of retrain them when they get back to your program.
That's been an issue over the years. I've been coaching high school basketball 22 years. Maybe this is my 23rd. And that's just one of the dilemmas. Sometimes we get kids that play AAU, which is good, again, if they're getting extra basketball. But if they're doing something different, retraining, like you said.
Right.
It's a hit or miss. I guess if they're playing extra basketball, great.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I think we were at the Lawrence girls banquet last year, and Coach Chesley, when he got up to talk to his kids, he actually brought up AAU and said, I'm not telling you girls to not play AAU, and I'm just telling you that going out and shooting 100 shots a day is way more, advantageous for you to improve your game than to go play, 3 AAU games in a weekend.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Right. These kids aren't out in the driveway anymore.
No, you're right.
They're not. They're not shooting hoops in the driveway anymore. They're not. They'd rather be inside or whatever, or doing something else. But the kids, there's not a lot of kids doing the little things on their own, the skill development and whatnot on their own.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. They think, okay, I just played all weekend. I played 3 games. Well, did you get a ball in your hand?
How
You know,
productive.
going out on the court or just working on your dribbling skills, you know, shooting, getting the shots up. That's
Yep.
really more benefit than
Yeah.
going to play. If you're doing that, then going to play your 3 to 4 games a weekend.
Yep.
Yeah, that
Right.
you're all set.
Well, that's the other piece about the AAU. There's one practice a week,
Yeah.
and then they're playing games. You know, and so how productive are those practices, and how productive are the games? So
Yeah, I feel like it's a money grab sometimes, because you got to pay so much
100%.
money.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
dealing with baseball. Being in baseball in the Central Maine area, we see that AAU is really taking off, and
Yep.
it's they're playing extra baseball, but it's
yeah.
sometimes it's not for the good.
It's a challenge for a lot of coaches for
Yeah.
sure.
Let's talk about preseason. How do you set your preseason schedule up? Do you go by the experience of your team, or do you just pick teams you want to just get out and play the best opponent possible?
Yeah, it depends on your personnel and what you got coming back.
Yep.
You know, so I guess a few years back when we had some pretty good players, we were trying to set up a very competitive preseason.
Yep.
Went down to Portland a couple times and stuff. And it's not that there's not competitive teams up here. There are.
Yeah.
But we want to play teams that are new to us, that we haven't seen. For me, this year we got a lot of new faces and inexperienced guys. So we just tried to stay local, and we just played in the Dick Beater Classic last night. Played Lake Region and Freeport, teams that we never play. My approach is to give guys opportunities the first 2 weekends, and then kind of go from there. But say, all right, set the tone, set our lineup, and then we have that last tune-up before the regular season, and we treat that like a regular season game. So it can be a challenge sometimes, but
Now who do you play next week before your final tune-up?
Madison.
You play Madison,
Yeah,
so
yep,
very
Madison.
local.
Yep.
And
Yep. Well, Madison and both Winslow, who we just played this morning, half-court motion type teams, half-court man-to-man defense teams, and we open up with Hamden.
yeah.
So what are those teams? What does that team do well?
Yeah.
Half-court man, half-court motion.
Yeah.
So it's good prep for us. And so I was ecstatic to be able to play to Winslow and then Madison on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Very similar styles.
Well, we appreciate you coming in, giving us a few minutes, and we wish you the best of luck in the season. Don't forget, we'll have all 9 home games for the Riverhawks, both girls and boys, right here on Epic View. And last thing, Coach, Giants will be back. Don't worry. Okay?
Hopefully sooner
You got
rather than
3
later.
Giants fans here.
Yes.
This is a rarity.
Yes, there you go. Well, I appreciate you guys having me. Thank you very much for inviting me. So.
No problem. We'll be back after this. Thank Coach Tom Netto for being on with us. And don't forget, this is brought to you by Hammond Lumber Company with 22 locations across Maine and New Hampshire and online at hammondlumber.com. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the preseason coaches show here live on Epic View Studios. Rick Dougal, Larry Workman, who are joined by head coach Nick Levine of the Waterville Girls Purple Panthers. And, Coach, we appreciate you coming in. Our coaches show brought to you by Hammond Lumber Company with 22 locations across Maine and New Hampshire and online at hammondlumber.com. Coach, so far in the preseason, any surprises that you've seen so far? Where do you think the program's at going into this big season coming up?
Yeah, I think the biggest surprise continues to be the numbers are growing. So each year we've been able to add on. My first year coaching in the last game, we only suited up 6 girls. So that was difficult.
Yep.
And then my second year, 18 came out. So we had 18. So we, last minute added a JV. A JV scheduled, played about 10 games my second year, and then my third year, entering in my third year, we have 23 girls.
Great.
So yeah, it's growing, but we're very young. So
Coach Brown actually said his numbers doubled too, so sounds like things turning around there at Waterville.
Yeah, I think Coach Brown and I have worked really well together to put on clinics in the spring for some young kids, in the summer too. He's very active in the Alfond. He has, some people he coached with prior there. So like we have some connections there now that I don't think may have been in the past. So I think that relationship is growing really positively.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Talking about your team, how many returning starters and players are coming back to the program?
Yeah, so that's where growing numbers are great, but we have basically four returning starters, which is good, but basically four returning varsity players. All of those four that started are only returners. So we have we had a couple swing players come back. So I guess we have six.
Okay.
Six. So four starters, two swing players that are coming back, but four who played significant minutes.
You obviously lost your senior that did
Yeah.
a lot for your program. Do you have that? Who's the next kid or multiple of kids stepping up to take that leadership?
So Mara was huge for us. I mean, probably the best athlete I've ever coached, and really positive too. Just kind of a coach's dream. But when you have such a significant presence, I think sometimes it can make you not think as creatively. You have Mara. You can always go to Mara, or
Right.
maybe you start the ball with Mara. You want Mara to touch the ball. If Mara doesn't touch the ball, then it's probably not going to be a good offensive possession. But I think with that, with the lack of Mara, unfortunately, which is going to be huge, it has made the entire team try and think more creatively, and everybody's looking to touch the ball. And I think that's going to be big for us, is getting everybody involved. And particularly, we lack size, but we have a center who really never was involved in the offense at all. So when you don't have somebody who's a big presence, not active in the offense, it really limits things. So early on in the preseason, that could answer the question of the biggest surprise. She might be it. Is like she wants to be involved, and not just scoring. She wants to be a playmaker. She wants to set good. Like she's doing all the things that you want in a big presence down low. She doesn't have height, but she's a weightlifter, so she's gonna
Physically strong.
Physically
Nice.
strong. She's going to be big for us. If I were to say in the preseason, that would be the biggest surprise from people that watched us last year to this year. It would be like, whoa, where'd she come from? I remember her from last year, but
Right.
yeah, it's going to be good.
So how do you go about establishing expectations for the team when you start the season? Is it something that you consult your other coaches? Do you talk to the players? How do you say, okay, this is where we're at right now. This is where we want to be, this season.
Yeah, so last year, I think in the middle of the season, our expectations kind of changed. We just said we wanted to get better. Whatever that was, we were 2-16 my first year. We were like, we just want to get better. However you define that, small wins, small accomplishments. And, from year one to year two, we did get better by almost any measure. Limiting points per game. We beat 3 teams as opposed to just one. We won one more game. We went into OT twice, lost in a buzzer beater. All these things add up to us getting better. So, expectations, I guess, huge is consistency. Trying to be consistent, and I think I've sought out assistant coaches that make up for my weaknesses as a coach, and I think that's huge because if you don't identify those weaknesses and then try to seek people out who kind of make up for that lack or deficiency, then you're only in an echo chamber, and all the players are getting the same kind of feedback. So I think I've sought out, Coach Folsom, who has a wealth of experience, knowledge. She's young, so I think she can identify with the girls a bit better, and she's really hard-nosed. She doesn't take any kind of crap from the girls. So it's really been great working with her. And then we added Gabby Martin, who graduated from Waterville High School as well. So those two coaches have been invaluable in trying to be consistent from year to year. So we've had the same 2 coaches for 3 years, and the girls know what to expect coming in already. And and from the both of us as a head coach and assistant. So
Yes.
Let's talk about your conference right now. As we was talking to Coach Brown, they're classified in, for tournament-wise, Class C South, but you guys are in Class B North. Who are some of the teams that you're going to play against, or who you feel is the top 4 teams in that league?
Well, so we probably you're going to have Ellsworth, Old Town, those teams, of course. They're probably the top, but we're not going to play that. Probably really focus on across the bridge. Winslow is going to be huge for us. I think their program is in the same trajectory as ours. They got a new coach over there, 18 girls from what I hear. So I think that is truly going to be back what it used to be, a real battle. The past couple of years, we've had their number. They beat us once. We beat them 3 times. But I think it's going to be a real challenge for us. So I think Winslow is going to be one that we're highlighting on that schedule. And then, of course, MCI. I think the past 2 years, the 4 games, we've been so close with them each time. And then last year to lose both games in OT on a buzzer beater, the girls are hungry for that one, and they're actually our home opener. So I would say those 4 games in particular, ones that we need to win, to be able to reach our goal, which is we want to get to the playoffs.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nice.
So those 2 are the ones we've highlighted. We play a weird schedule though because of the boys being in that C. So we play like last year we played Telstar. It was a little odd,
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of a hybrid schedule for us.
So, how do you feel about the current direction of the program? You've been there. This is your 3rd year, and do you feel like your numbers are improving? The lower levels seem to be. And talking to Coach Brown, I think you guys are on the same page as far as getting that help from Beth LaFountain and really developing that lower level. Where do you feel like the program is right now, and where do you see it in the future?
Yeah, I think just looking at numbers over at the Alpha, the numbers for girls basketball are still low, but I think the talent is there. There's a lot of girls there that are committed to basketball, so that's good. I think in the past it's been like this one sport thing where they're just playing soccer, but now there's a lot of girls that are coming up that really identify as basketball players, so that's good. So maybe the numbers at the younger girls aren't exactly exploding like I think some boys programs are, but I think the talent is there. And then as far as our program goes, it's been very exciting. So Mara, if we go back to Mara had 3 coaches in 4 years.
Yeah.
So
That's very tough to establish a program that way.
Right, exactly. And she had to learn expectations 3 different times. All of us had very different coaching styles. And so I remember at the end of her junior year, she's like, "Are you coming back?" And I was like, "Yeah, well, I haven't signed."
As far as I know.
As far as I know. Yeah.
If they have me.
Yeah, if they have me. Yeah. 2 games, but we'll see. They could. But yeah, she's like, "Well, I've had." She told me that you're my 3rd coach in 4 years. I really would not like 4 coaches in 4 years. So, I think that is the most exciting. Is these juniors? I called them I can't remember what I called them. Their freshman year, but like the freshman 4, the fabulous freshmen, something like that. It was something cheesy and corny, but those 4 girls are juniors now, and they've only had me as a basketball coach. And now when I start practice, they know what to do right away, and we don't lose time because those expectations are set. So we're already in it. We're already just more efficient because those juniors know what to do. And so I'm really excited about what those 4 juniors are going to do on the basketball court. And then I have a sophomore who seems like she's been in the program forever, but she's so committed. So she plays like a junior. So I think just having these girls that I've had for their entire high school career has been invaluable too.
Great.
Now the preseason, obviously you just started it. Some of your opponents, do you have a say on who you want to schedule, and does that opponent fit your team? Basically, do you go out to find teams that are very similar to you, or do you, have opponents that are better and challenge you even more?
So we were a little bit limited. I don't know how much Coach Brown divulged about our gym situation.
Yeah, we know about it.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm sure you guys are like, where are we going to film? Oh, yeah, that's right. Junior high. You're gonna
Junior
have to
high.
junior high.
Yeah, we're flushing that out as we
Oh,
speak.
wow. Okay, yeah. There's probably not a good spot for that.
Yeah, I don't know what. I don't know. That's up to them. We just show up.
Okay, all right. he's like, okay. Yeah, you're
that's
the
Gage's
talent.
issue.
Yeah, you guys figure that out.
So yeah, that's been a struggle. So we had to play all of our games away during the preseason because we couldn't schedule anything at at the junior high. We didn't even know we were going to practice until until I don't know, maybe like 2 weeks before the season started.
Wow.
So it's been a little bit of a struggle there, but we're fine. And so yeah, we get basically full autonomy. Heidi is very good at being like, who do you want to play? If you know the coach, reach out to him. If you don't know the coach, I'll reach out to their AD. So my feeling is, well, again, we were limited, but we wanted to travel together because we're going to other people's gyms. But we looked at teams that one we could be really competitive against, like one that we think we have a really good shot at running with them, and then I look at one who's maybe just a little bit better than us, but we think we can, if we have a good day, we can take them. And then I find one. Usually, my feeling is find one that's a little bit outside of our competitive range right now. So I want those three. Those three usually. Again, this year was a little bit difficult, but we have Foxcroft, who we think we can run with. We finished ahead of them in the standings. We think we can be competitive. I think they graduated 3 seniors. One of their bigs, so I think we can be competitive against them, and we could see them, right? If they're better, we could see them later on there in North, B North. So, and then we decided to go to the tournament up in Lincoln. So that one will be against some Class D schools. So, but one really good Class D school who I think is pretty good, and then Shed, who I think we, again, similar to Foxcroft probably, and then Poland I think is that Reach team. I think they did some good things last year. And they improved significantly. Yeah.
Well, good. So we'll be, I believe, we'll be broadcasting all 9 home games, and on the boys and girls side in Waterville. We're still trying to figure that out as far as how the junior high is going to work.
They do say we should be back in the gym.
Yeah, by Christmas, right?
Yeah. So right now, the last update I saw was the 20th, and I think the girls, we only have 2 games in between there. So
yeah, I know. I think I'm doing the first one, the home opener there against MCI. So
okay.
as long as we can figure out if that works, but we'll be there for all the Waterville games this year, and of course, you want to tune into Epic View for all the local sports because we got all the Lawrence home games and all the Skowhegan home games as well. And hopefully, Coach, you get into maybe to get to host a postseason game. We like to do those too. So.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. Yeah, that's what our goal is. Yeah.
Well, we appreciate Coach Nick Levine coming in for Larry Workman. I'm Rick Dougal. Have a great day, everybody.